KPCA-LP, Petaluma, California.
Nancy Pelosi is a woman of faith, a loving wife, a mother of 5, a grandmother of 9, a sophisticated strategist, a legendary legislator, a voice for the voiceless, a defender of the disenfranchised, a powerful, profound, prophetic, principled public servant, and that's why we stand squarely behind her today. Let me be clear, House Democrats are down with NDP. Nancy D'Alessandro Pelosi, the once and future Speaker of the United States House of Representatives, I proudly place her name in nomination. May God bless her. May God bless the United States of America.
Greetings, Petaluma.
Happy New Year, everybody.
Hey.
2019.
That's it.
Looking good, Matt.
Yeah, hey, folks, you're tuned in to KPCA LP, Petaluma, California.
That's us.
And this is Two Mooks and a Mic.
Two Mooks and a Mic, and that's Matt McGuire just talking back there.
And that's Jim Thomas just talking right now.
Yeah.
We are co-hosting you.
We're co-hosting it. Hey, Matt, I'm back from my on assignment.
Yeah, that's right. You were gone last week.
I was gone last week.
You survived. Where'd you go?
I went to Missouri, of all places, or, people don't call it Missouri. They call it Missouri.
Yeah.
So if you don't know, if you're not from Missouri, you call it Missouri. Anyway, it was cold, no snow.
Yeah.
Global climate change.
Yeah.
And people were denying it. Most of my family. They're all Democrats except for one person who watches Fox News like crazy.
But the Democrats were denying global
warming? No,
warming?
they were okay with it. We just didn't talk about it because we were being respectful to
I
the one
see.
Republican, insane person who watches Fox News like crazy.
So there's one thing to be in denial. There's another thing to just be avoiding it all.
Avoid. Yes, that's right. Stick your head in the sand.
That's right.
But Matt,
for family harmony.
I never want a piece of ham again. They had a big honey baked ham. We had it for lunch, breakfast, and dinner.
Oh God!
I feel like I was sleeping in ham. I reeked of ham.
Oink oink.
I know. So all you vegan people, I see what your point is, and maybe we'll.
You've got to come. Ray Cooper, listen up. Jim Thomas he's getting ripe, buddy.
I am. Give me the tofurkey.
Yeah, that's
as long
right.
as it's not hamurkey.
Hamurkey.
Or toe hammy.
Oh God!
Or something. Let's get going.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah. So we tried to do a beginning here, which I edited at home, and it was Hakeem Jeffries.
Yeah, we were going to do our intro music with Hakeem Jeffries.
Hakeem Jeffries, and he actually did an incredible introduction of Nancy Pelosi, a nomination on the House or the Senate floor. On the House floor, for her being the next Speaker of the House of Representatives. And he was riffing, Matt. I sent it to you. He was doing alliterative rap about Ms. Pelosi, and it was fabulous. They gave her a standing ovation at least twice. If you have not seen it, boys and girls, please go on to the interwebs and look up Hakeem Jeffries, Hakeem. And his introduction of Nancy Pelosi, it's well worth it. It takes maybe 5 minutes.
A minute. The minute you had about a minute on that.
Yeah, I just took the last part.
Yeah, which was
incredible.
Nice. Yeah. Well, and so this is a historic moment. Nancy Pelosi once again assumes the Speaker of the House.
She grabbed the gavel.
Democratic majority, and only the second time a woman has been the Speaker, and she was the first time, too.
That's right.
So,
yes. And the fact that this, again, the first time that she did it twice in a row, it's pretty remarkable.
Yeah, and she's jumped in both feet. Now, I've never been a big Pelosi fan for a long time.
Why is that?
Well, I consider her one of the, corporatist Democratic leadership people that need to move on.
Good for you.
And represent the people more than their corporate interests.
That's true.
Now, she's done a lot of good stuff, and she's known to be a very savvy political strategist.
Yes.
And, of course, a profound fundraiser. And, of course, money is the mother's milk of politics.
Ooh, pass that money teat.
Yeah, and so, so she does have a lot of resources to bring to the job.
She's got a lot of experience, and it's good that she's not termed out or that they just overlooked her for that alone. I agree with you 100% with the corporatist stuff, Matt, but she gets things done. And her daughter said about her that she's like a ninja warrior. She will behead you, and you won't even know that you're bleeding. And it's basically what she's doing. It's pretty good. She made a lot of concessions to these new people coming in.
Yeah, that's right. And we've mentioned this before, one of them being that she said says she will not serve more than 4 years in this role.
Yep.
Personally, I think she should have said she'd give it up in 2, but others say, oh, well, you're signaling defeat, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, whatever.
No, what you're doing is you're letting the new fresh energy rise up and mature and take over. Because, so pluses and minuses. So,
right.
Some of the pluses are that she's firing shots across Trump's bow already.
Love it. Yes.
She said that a sitting president could be indicted. Quote, I think that is an open discussion in terms of the law.
How about that?
So, and that is an open question.
Yeah.
And a lot of this stuff comes down to political will.
That's right.
So,
and also savvy, Matt. I mean, that she's not, like Maxine Waters, Representative Maxine Waters is saying impeach, impeach, impeach. She's being very aggressive about getting that SOB out of the office. Pelosi's not doing that because it reflects badly for her strategy to get things done.
Well, and she wasn't, beating that drum before the midterm elections because there was fear that, if she did, that
Backfire.
would, that would push the right wingers to come out in greater force.
That's right.
I don't think that it would, I think the election shown that she could have been banging that drum all she wanted, and there still would have been a blue wave.
Yeah.
But
maybe
now,
not a tsunami.
Maybe not a tsunami, but no, I don't know. I mean, nonetheless, we have a Democratic majority now.
That's good.
And then, but what she said about impeachment, I think, is interesting because before she was saying, no, we're not going to talk about impeachment.
Right.
Here's what she said, quoting from today's paper. She says, she said the House would not move quickly to impeach Trump, but would not shy away from doing so if it were warranted. Quote, we have to wait and see what happens with the Mueller report.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, we shouldn't be impeaching for a political reason. Good. And we shouldn't avoid impeachment for a political reason.
Like that too.
Good. So we'll just have to see how it comes, end quote.
As opposed to the Republicans with the Benghazi or Hillary's emails, that they're looking for stuff and they're aggressively trying to find stuff that isn't there. There's no there.
Well, for 8 years, they've been sitting there trying to fan sparks of nothing into fires.
Thank you, Trey Gowdy, and thank you, Darrell Issa.
Yeah, exactly.
Both gone, thank God.
Good riddance to rubbish.
Don't let the door hit you on the way.
Yeah.
I actually do let the door hit you on the way.
Yeah,
hard.
Do.
Yeah,
and, Pelosi, I mean, and she's done what you would hope and expect her to do. She stepped right in and said, look, we're going to reach across the aisle. We're going to have a government of transparency.
Yes.
We're going to get stuff done, folks. We're actually going to govern. So, of course, the first thing they did was they passed, bills to open up the government again. Of course, McConnell's going, well, it'll never work in the Senate. We're not going to bring it up if it won't get the president's signature.
If the president won't sign it, we won't even bring it to the floor for a vote.
Yeah, and you said there, Trump and Chuck Schumer, the minority leader of the Senate, met this morning, right?
That's right. They met this morning, and Trump is saying, here it is, months or even years, both sides braced for a lengthy shutdown. Apparently, Donald Trump claims that he's willing to go for months, or if not months, years with this shutdown.
Great.
So already there's a major problems happening across the nation.
Yeah, it's really starting to impact. Well, so even while Pelosi is making pledges of unity in a fresh bipartisan spirit, she did manage some subtle swipes at the president and his party.
Good. Let's hear them.
At one point, while discussing immigration, she quoted Ronald Reagan. Here's her quote.
You mean the god of the Republicans?
Yes, the Republican guy.
Yeah.
So Pelosi says, he said, quote, if we ever close the door to new Americans, our leadership role in the world will soon be lost.
Mm-hmm.
And then that elicited a standing ovation from Democrats in the well of the House.
Thank you.
But listen to this.
All right.
But grim-faced silence from most of those seated on the Republican side.
Of course.
So Nancy says, You don't applaud for Ronald Reagan, she scoffed. Those Republicans hate to be hoist on their own petard. They hate to be shown, that they are such, hypocrites.
They are such
They love
hypocrites.
to trot out Ronnie Boy, who
all
was
the time,
a
the
horrible
God.
president.
Right, that's right.
And so now she's using it on them, and they're like,
They're not being hoisted on their own petard. She's sticking the petard in them and twisting.
She's gutting them.
Oh, that's so
great.
But
now, on a little bit on the negative side, though, so Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, our heroine, who's newly elected from New York.
AOC.
She's come out really strong for the Green New Deal.
Yeah.
Now, the Green New Deal is patterned after Roosevelt's New Deal, where in the Depression, it put
Yes, right.
millions of people to work.
Like the WPA.
With government
Right.
projects,
That's great.
Something Republicans hate, the government stay out of the market.
So it's infrastructure. If you've ever been to San Francisco,
Right.
the murals of Coit Tower, a lot
Parks,
of bridges, parks,
trails,
all
dams,
this stuff.
schools.
Right, schools.
Yeah.
What it did, Matt, was get people to work.
Yes.
People who couldn't be employed, the government paid them to work.
And that's the goal of the Green New Deal,
Love it.
except they're saying we want to do this without adding to the carbon pollution.
Hence the
and
green.
We want to do this in a socially just way so that, poor people are getting jobs.
Where'd these people come from?
Yeah, so
it's great.
So they're talking about like constructing roads, highways, schools, hospitals,
Bridges.
libraries, bridges, museums, pools, and et cetera. And
good.
The way they're structuring this is they're saying we're not going to use any fossil fuels, nor are we going to use nuclear power.
Wow.
Now,
okay, so nuclear power, they've been trying to slip that under as it's non-polluting, right?
Yes.
Right.
And of course, nuclear power in this country is really owned and operated by the big corporations.
3 Mile Island.
Yeah, exactly. General Electric and those kinds of companies who are building these things.
Yeah.
And of course, are huge money losers.
Right.
And there's
that's right.
there's 98 U.S. reactors still licensed, and they're aging, and they're getting brittle, and they're incredibly dangerous. They're at increasing risk of blowing up.
So, Matt, yes,
like
they
3
may
Mile
not.
Island.
They may not. They may not pollute the air, except for like 3 Mile Island. But what do you do with the waste? And that's always been a problem. Do you bury it in Yucca Mountain? Do you shoot it into the sun?
There is never.
What do you do? Do you eat it?
In 70, 80 years, there's never been a solution to what to do with all that radioactive waste.
Right, it's kind of like going into Iraq without having an exit plan.
Yeah.
So why do you do
well,
this?
so I mean, of course, corporate interest
stuff.
and money is and so the pro-nuke people are likely to, could sidetrack the Green New Deal efforts, on that piece of it. But in the meantime, the Democrats are going to reform a select committee or some form of that. But Steny Hoyer, the number 2, right after
From
Nancy
Maryland.
Pelosi, says, but we're not going to give you subpoena power.
What's the purpose of that?
Yeah, well, the purpose of that is to protect fossil fuel industry
because,
people.
Don't tell me. Let me guess. He is in the pocket of the fossil fuel industry.
Yeah, what do you think? And not only that, Nancy Pelosi chose a Florida congressperson, Kathy Castor, as chair of this committee, and she's received substantial money from the fossil fuel industry over
oil.
this.
Well, castor oil.
Castor oil. Castor bean.
Castor out of here.
Poisonous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No kidding.
So, I mean, you've got
Matt,
that side of Nancy Pelosi, too. But, so we're really, in no man's land now, Jim, because it's a divided government.
Yes.
The
Which is good.
It's been shut down it'll be 2 weeks tomorrow.
Which is bad.
And that impacts about 20% of federal employees.
That's worse.
But it's going to get worse.
Yeah,
right?
800,000 or so people. And these are people, government employees who aren't making that much money, but they're trying to raise a family and they're getting nothing.
Right.
And the Trump administration sends out these letters to them saying, ask your landlord if you can barter for some of your rent, like maybe do chores around your apartment building.
What a simple-minded fool. There was a woman was interviewed, and she had called her utility and said, hey, can you give me a break? Utility said no.
No.
Right?
Whoa.
These federal workers are on 2-week pay cycles, right? And 80% of the people in this country, not just federal workers, 80% of the people in this country are living paycheck to paycheck.
80%?
80%.
You mean they have no savings?
They don't have any substantial savings. We've heard the fact stated before that if something like, again, 80% of the people, if they had a $400 emergency, they don't have the money to cover it.
Wow.
I mean, and so and you look at this in
really
the context of this economy, where it's like, the economy. Trump is blathering on about how strong the economy is,
I'm
right?
not sure about that.
I mean, well, we're not. I mean, Jerry Brown says we're going to have a recession this year.
He's already started.
I think he's
well,
right.
Look at the stock market; it's tanking, and look what happened to Apple. Just brought it down again because part of the reason is their iPhones aren't selling because guess what? It's the tariffs in China.
Yeah, China, their biggest market right now.
That's right.
And so that the sales there are diminishing. Now, of course, the whole constant need for profit and growth is a cancerous economic basis and cannot ultimately be sustained.
No, there has to be an end.
There has to be. And, of course, like you say, so, China, huge new market, but, trade wars. So they're restricting their sales there, and and then the stock market mavens go, well, as long as Apple's doing good, everybody else is going to be fine. Well,
But guess what? They aren't.
Apple
and so,
took a big kick in the slap.
Yeah. So, gee whiz, man.
So the stock market lost over $7
trillion
dollars of value.
I can't even conceive it. That's more than I have in my bank account.
Yeah.
So, Matt,
Unbelievable.
Last year, I barely slept. I slept with both eyes open. Now, thanks to what happened with the blue tsunami, I'm sleeping with one eye open. I mean, it's still bad, right? But it's better.
A finger in only one ear.
That's right. And my deaf ear is facing up, so I can't hear out of the other one. Man.
Yeah, it's better. It's better.
Barely better.
We'll see. I mean, so your point about Trump saying, "Oh, well, I'll keep government closed for years if
years if necessary."
I mean, so at some point, this just adds to the blatant reality. Once again, having withdrawn from the Paris Accord and doing everything he can to dismantle any rational environmental protections. And having made tremendous headway in that direction in the last 2 years,
that's right.
There's really no other conclusion, I think, that any rational person can come to except that Donald Trump is an immediate and dangerous threat to the existence of the human race.
Thank you, Matt. Yes, I think it's traitorous what he's doing. Treasonous
Absolutely.
and traitorous. Everything he touches, it just dissolves into ash.
Exactly.
He ruins everything. But he's unaware that he's doing this. His base is telling him that he's doing a great job, except for Ann Coulter and other people on Fox News, where he watches, and he basically I think it was with the border wall, they called him basically a weakling, and so
they said a gutless president.
I was going to say another word, but it's inappropriate over the air. Yes, a gutless president, and so he takes that to heart. He's so sensitive about that, so then he changes the whole thing and standing firm on this border wall that nobody wants,
which ironically
80% of the people don't want it.
In the meantime, with the shutdown, amongst those who are being impacted are Border Patrol agents. Right now, he has cultivated and he's flattered them, and Border Patrol and ICE. He's just they typically love him. Those are his people. But now some of those people are having to work without paychecks.
Good. Good. Maybe they'll finally go, well, maybe he's not such a good president after all.
And maybe they'll abandon their post at all the border crossings, and all those hordes
something?
would come pouring in. You'll
then
see all
They're
those moms and little kids.
It's so great. Man.
And then we'll all just assimilate them, and people will find jobs.
And they pay taxes and all that. It'd be great.
And people around here would be thrilled because there's lots of jobs in the wineries and stuff.
I was just going to say, pick the grapes.
Construction and stuff where people
build
just
the houses.
can't find help.
That's right. So in other words, the Republican lemmings might just take a left instead of going off the cliff. Maybe.
Well, more likely that they'll just push. Their intent is to push everybody off the cliff.
Yeah, and they stay on the end.
Yeah, exactly.
On the very end.
So we'll see if those people still love him. But he does have that hardcore, dedicated victims of Fox propaganda.
Yes,
and that's going to make it tough.
It is tough,
any
Matt.
Change.
Right, because they are one of the most watched of all news outlets of cable. Rachel Maddow, her show actually is rated number 1.
Oh, good.
She's outfoxed the Foxes.
Oh, that's
so
good
that's
to
pretty
know.
good. Yeah. So, but. I think there's people who they don't watch her. I mean, the ones who do watch her, they're loyal. She does tell yarns, and it goes on for quite a while. So you really have to be patient and not be too messed up to follow her.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, you can't be too simple-minded, you mean?
I mean, don't drink too much or smoke too much before you watch her.
Well,
or simple-minded.
I mean, if you watch Fox News on a regular basis and you weren't simple-minded, you'll get more simple-minded. And there's actually fairness and accuracy in reporting has done studies that show that
Toddy, I think.
Yeah, in the media critics, nonprofit, and they've done studies that show that people who watch Fox News are more misinformed and uninformed than people who watch no news.
So first of all, watching that, you become less curious, and then you become stupider.
Yes.
Or more stupid, whichever the way it goes. Now I'm feeling like
hey, you're an English teacher, you know it.
Ex-English teacher. I'm more stupider.
Retirement is sinking in on Jim.
I'm just watching Fox News, and I'm happy.
Except that everything they show you is designed to piss you off and scare the bejesus out of you.
Or just give me another Twinkie, and I'll be content. Yes, that's right, Matt. I mean, it's like a 4-alarm fire
all the time.
All the time. I mean, how do these people who watch it stand it?
Yeah, you'd think that
5 cups of coffee.
You'd think their adrenal glands would be shot.
My adrenal gland, I don't want it to be shot.
Well, so maybe that's a good thing because
read a book.
When they finally hauled Trump off and frog march him into jail, all those people who've been threatening to get out their long arms and have a revolution
Southern Missouri
will be like limp dish rags and because their adrenals are shot.
That's right. It could be, and maybe they won't get TV reception, so they can't follow their marching orders.
That's right.
Oh man, it's a
God.
mess.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, the shutdown really is starting to impact people. Like there was a report currently right now in Yosemite, people are flocking there because there's not the $25 entry fee.
So everybody's like, free, let's go.
So they're having like crowds comparable to what they have on the 4th of July.
Are you kidding
And there's
me?
like
That's crazy.
something like 12 rangers. Like
Oh
4
my
in the
gosh,
valley,
oh my God.
4 up in the meadows up above, and 4,
Wow.
and it's like to handle all this.
Wow.
And piles of human crap, excrement, are piling up.
Why are they pooping in the road, man?
Well, because there's no facilities.
Oh,
there's-
that's right, because everything's locked up.
yeah, or they're
They should-
overflowing.
They should do it like bears and just go into the woods.
Yeah, well,
And
that's
not
not
just-
necessarily good. I mean, you
No,
know,
it's not good. It's dangerous. It's a health.
yeah. I mean,
thingy.
it's like that kind of crowd does need to be
Biohazard.
controlled because these are sensitive lands.
And also places like Joshua Tree, they're fighting over
Yes.
campsites. They're taking their Christmas lights when it was Christmas time and
Putting them
decorating
on
these trees that
Joshua
are thousands
trees.
of years old.
Yeah.
And they fear, the experts fear that some of these people are taking their off-road vehicles and driving through sensitive
Yeah,
areas.
exactly.
Like maybe the Mojave Desert or
So,
Death Valley.
You can just see some Trumpian going, "Oh, I like the shutdown because now I can take my
I can do what I
my
want.
dune buggy and go
Yeah.
ripping in
I
the
go poop on the trail.
there's a
Yeah,
turtle.
Why don't we
get
go
it."
do it in the road?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
God. Well, it's
We're
pretty
going to
pathetic.
hell in a handbasket.
But I mean, the longer this goes on, so Jim, really, here's
Yeah,
the thing.
okay.
I mean, has Trump ever responded to any situation in a mature adult manner? Never.
Well, let me think.
Never.
No.
This guy is
Answer's
the most.
no.
I mean, I remember back to how twisted the Nixon administration was. I mean,
heaven forbid.
he was paranoid and conniving
Yeah,
and,
talked
and
to the
just
paintings and stuff.
slathering it, just
Yeah.
drooling.
I am
and-
not a crook.
Yeah, exactly. And he's taping everybody in the White
Yeah,
House. and such.
paranoid stuff.
But when push came to shove,
Yeah.
the guy said, "Okay, I'm out of here. I'm going to the."
He
Retiring
left.
to the Western
Plus, he
White
did something
House.
good. He did the Environmental Protection Agency, didn't he?
Well, that was while he
was one of the things
before
he
he
did,
was at
before he
the
went crazy.
end term of his
Yeah.
administration.
Well, he did something good. Trump, nothing.
Yeah, he
Nothing.
signed the Clean Air and Clean Water Act
That's
too. I
right.
think. So,
That's right. And Trump is doing the Dirty Air and the Dirty Water Act.
But I mean, so even Nixon, who had delusions of grandeur and wanted to have the
Yeah.
White House,
The
guards in
wearing
their
special
fancy-
uniforms.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right.
So
That's
I mean,
right.
that was pretty despicable.
Hail
But
to the thief.
But do you think that Trump would even be that rational?
No, no, and I don't think he's aware of it, Matt. I really don't. I think the people who he has surrounded himself with are all yes people.
Oh, and they've gotten worse and worse.
They have gotten worse and worse. In fact, he had a staff meeting with his cabinet, those
Yes.
who are left.
a couple days ago, right?
And I don't know whether you saw that or not. It was basically the same time that the Democrats are being sworn in. He had a poster of himself that looked like something from the Game of Thrones, the
Yeah.
same typeface
Yeah.
as the Game of Thrones. It said,
the
sanctions,
wall-
sanctions are coming, I
Well,
think.
and then he's tweeting something like that, a picture of his face, and the wall is coming.
Yeah, but get this. If he watches Game of Thrones, he's going to know that a wall's not going to stop anybody because
Really?
the whole thing is this ice wall,
Yeah.
right? And they're
Yeah.
able to breach it. So
Yeah.
Trump's just
Well,
an
and
idiot.
I mean that's why every time he just spews that lie,
Mm-hmm.
it's like. I mean, so you see quotes in the press of Pelosi or Schumer or somebody going,
right.
we're not going to give it. Pelosi's like, I'll give him $1 for it, right? But every time he raises the wall, they should be saying, where are you getting your information? That is completely wrong. It's a lie. It's
Yeah,
a lie.
that's
It's a
right.
lie.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
just
right.
keep-
Liar, liar, pants
yeah,
on fire.
Exactly. I mean, those walls don't work. Most of
No.
the illegal immigrants in this country came here by plane
Did
and
they?
or by car. And they had visas, visitor visas, and overstayed. them,
That's right, and that's the violation. It's not charging the wall
Yeah.
where they are firing rubber bullets. You told me this morning. I
the
was
plastic-
shocked.
Well, so a couple days ago,
Wow.
at the Tijuana border,
Right.
on Tuesday night, about 150 immigrants were lining up, and they were gonna breach. They were gonna hop the wall. So the Border Patrol fires a flare up into the sky.
A light to see what's going on.
And then they start launching tear gas and pepper spray.
Into Mexico. Which is a violation of their sovereignty.
They claimed that they were responding to rock throwers, but no.
Whoa.
AP, Associated Press, reporters and photographers were there.
Yeah, okay.
And they said, no, nobody started throwing rocks until they started launching tear gas into Mexico.
Holy cow.
And this one guy, I'll see if I can find the quote
Yeah, see
here.
if you can.
Yeah, he says, this guy, Fernando Duarte, a 22-year-old Honduran, said the tear gas had affected small children, among others. Quote, that's when people got furious and started throwing rocks, and I joined them, he said. I was so mad that they were throwing that gas when they know there were children with us.
So it's, again, gassing the kids.
Yeah.
The women and kids.
Yeah. And,
the most vulnerable of the society.
It says the
moms.
Associated Press reported that women, children, and journalists were affected by the tear gas. They also sent pepper spray, and then there was a report that they were firing plastic bullets at people.
So shooting them with plastic bullets, not to kill, but it certainly does maim, and I think it probably breaks the skin and can probably break bones.
Oh, it can do all kinds of harm. This went on for 2 hours before the people on the Mexican side, backed off. But now Mexico has called for, a meeting with America because you're not allowed to be firing missiles and things
thank you very much into another country without declaring war.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, this is far too similar to what's going on in Gaza and Israel, where the Palestinians are standing against the fences going, let us out of this prison. And
it is a prison over
and they
there.
just keep getting murdered by, sharpshooters.
We're now, one step away from that. Well, the kids are
dying. It's obviously not nearly that extreme.
Not yet.
But the Trump administration has created a humanitarian crisis on our border.
That's right. Yeah, they created it.
And he never acknowledges the fact that those are people that are leaving Central America primarily because of the complete destruction and dissolution of any kind of cohesive society, which happened from Ronald Reagan's
intervention,
Contra wars, and all that.
And it was Jeff Sessions who actually said that's not an excuse for asylum. Is leaving drug lords or violence at home,
domestic violence.
Can't do it. Sorry.
Which a court overturned him, thankfully.
Yes, thank you. But the fact that he even went there.
Yeah. So, I mean,
again, sleeping with one eye open, Matt. Maybe it's both. After this show, both eyes open again.
I mean, well, really, Jim. I mean, so is this the year that we're going to get rid of that corrupt, sick pervert in the White House? If so, how is that going to happen?
Okay,
right.
So, listeners, I just want to. There's a little ray of hope, and Nancy Pelosi is second in line for the presidency
after Pence.
Right. So Pence is number one.
Yep.
And then Nancy
Pelosi,
which is very interesting. It's not the Senate. It could be if there is an impeachment thing or the I word happens to both of them. Might not be bad. Then we get Pelosi.
But it would be hard to see how you could impeach Pence without giving him a chance to be in the driver's seat for a while.
I don't think so. I think we should just do it by implication.
But Nancy says you can't do it for political reasons, Jim, much as we'd love to see
it's
that.
It's not by political, it's just implications. By the way, Matt, another group of people who are severely affected by the shutdown are Native Americans because they rely on the government subsidies for food, for mail delivery, for even shoveling their driveways.
Well, those aren't subsidies. Those are payments made through signed treaties.
Thank you.
100 or so more years ago.
I misspoke, ladies and gentlemen, but yes, they're signed treaties. They're obligations from the government to the people where we took away their lands. We forced them onto these reservations, and that's what they're left with.
And this is a pittance for what they should be rightfully paid.
Absolutely it is. So, and also health care is a problem. And I just read an article that it says that the shutdown is going to affect air traffic control. Maybe making air travel less safe.
Shades of Ronald Reagan, who busted the air traffic controllers union.
That's correct. So here we go. The unions are suing the government.
Yes,
for
that's right.
And that's good.
That's right. The what is it? The
federal workers, I think.
The American Federation of Government Employees is suing, saying that it is illegal to make people work without pay.
Thank you. Yeah, I think so too.
Well, and here's another impact: the Violence Against Women Act.
Did
not get funded before the shutdown. Now, it's supposed to be revisited every 5 years, but every year there's funding to
keep it going,
to help victims of domestic violence and other forms of violence against women. And so the Congress, the Republican-controlled Congress, couldn't find its way to continue that funding. Now,
drives me crazy. And this is a unified government, right? At that time.
At that time. And do you realize the Violence Against Women Act came out of the Anita Hill Clarence Thomas?
Wow, I did not know that. So that's pretty old. That was back in the 91?
Yeah. So which is, one of the reasons I do not want to see Joe Biden put his name forward as a Democratic
he
candidate.
totally blew it.
Because, all you got to do is say Anita Hill, because he let her get
fold like a
shafted.
cheap box.
Well,
he did, and
and shame on him.
He absolutely, he did admit that he made mistakes,
He
but
did.
it's a little too little and too late.
And you know what? At the time, it was blatant and it was egregious, and there was no excuse for it.
No,
at the time.
it wasn't. So speaking of presidential candidates, how about Elizabeth Warren?
Yes, so that's
Is this a
right.
good
So
thing?
she's formed what they quote unquote exploratory committee. Pretty much anybody that does that is getting ready to run. It gives them an opportunity to take donations, of which I sent in a little bit of money to her already.
Good on you.
And maybe she's not going to be the final candidate that I support, but I think she's been sterling in her efforts to protect people from financial abuse
She's
by
been
Wall
fabulous.
Street.
Yes. Now, Trump is still doing the Pocahontas BS.
Oh, yeah.
And
What a
Elizabeth Warren now
scumbag.
has a nice new logo. It says Elizabeth Warren 2020. And Trump does. He puts a slash mark and a 1 in front of the 2020, like it's 1/2020th, which is an allusion to the amount of Native American blood she has from her DNA test. So he's not going, as a bully, he's not going to let that go.
Yeah, but she was, basically that whole thing was about her proving that she had some Native American blood, not that she was trying to assume special status. She never did that.
No, just pointing out that it's true.
Yeah, just pointing out that Trump is a liar.
Right.
And
Again.
that he needs to shut up. And so she's moving on, but obviously he's stuck in his little sick fantasy world, isn't he?
Yes, he is. And and I'm trying to find it. I can't. I just have to paraphrase or summarize a little bit. The way when she came out with her DNA test, she was excoriated by the media.
Oh, yeah, the mainstream media.
Right, the mainstream media. And it turns out that they only asked 2 Native Americans what they thought about it. One of them is an anti-Elizabeth Warren person, and the other one is like, I don't like her at all either. They didn't ask any other Native American, especially Native American women, what they think of Elizabeth Warren's DNA testing. Now they're asking them, and they're saying, I think it's fine that she did that.
Oh, good. Yeah.
So they're perfectly fine. They have been the whole time.
Yeah.
So it's the mainstream media that didn't follow through. They're looking for a sensational story, it sounds
and that's
like.
a good example, Jim, of the corruption of the mainstream media, which in the last, since Nixon's time, has become much, much more corporate controlled and concentrated in fewer and fewer corporate hands.
Yes,
right?
look at what is
and
it,
much more
Sinclair Broadcasting, for instance.
Well, and much more enslaved to the Wall Street diktat that, you must make quarterly profits, And so, that mainstream media, that's a good example of something they should have been saying, well, she did it to show that she wasn't making stuff up.
Right.
And
Thank
now
you.
we just move on. But
yes, this is from HuffPo. It says, tribal leaders and Native people say the senator is an ally and they support her look at her ancestry, but hardly anyone asks them.
Exactly.
There we go.
And, of course, Elizabeth Warren has been a champion for the working class people, the small person.
And protection of consumers.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. And against the big banks and the banksters.
Yeah.
She's been great. I wish that she would be a little bit more animated in her talking, but
well,
you
think
a boring person.
Yeah, I'd rather have that than the animation that we've had the last 2 years.
Again, sleeping with both eyes open now. Thanks, Matt.
Exactly.
Yeah,
well, and here's an interesting little factoid.
Let's hear it.
So the GOP has lost the House majority, and so Paul Ryan, who's been the Speaker of the House for these many years, he's leaving with a 12% favorability rating.
Whoa, it's almost in the basement. Holy cow.
12% and 71% unfavorable. And of course, this is the guy that the mainstream media like to point to and say, "Oh, he's a financial wonk." He knows. And the guy was always full of crap. I mean, all he ever was, it's like, well, deficit. We got to, can't have
can't have it until we're in charge.
Yeah, until we got to give away trillions of dollars
in the
to the richest people in corporations, which was his one main goal
and his dream when he was in college, when he would be at beer parties. This is what he'd talk about wanting to do.
Exactly, like make the rich richer.
Congratulations, you did it.
Rat SOB.
He is a rat SOB.
Yeah, and hopefully, in 2020, when we take back the Senate and the White House, then we can start cleaning house. Unfortunately, by then, who knows where the whole worldwide climate situation will be.
Well, Green New Deal, if it goes through. But you were telling me earlier, Matt, about the Green New Deal. There are some restrictions on that, like they have no subpoena power.
Well, that's right. Steny Hoyer says that they're not going to allow them to have subpoena power, which is ridiculous because, if you're going to have a select committee, you need to be able to force people to come in and testify, i.e., Rex Tillerson from the head of Exxon, who ran Exxon when his scientists were saying our business is poisoning the world and you know it and we're hiding it and we're colluding to confuse the situation and get away with more crimes against the the public and the environment.
Right.
I mean,
That's right.
so
Yeah.
Steny Hoyer is this is the problem with the Democratic leadership. This is why we want to see even Nancy Pelosi do what work she can here in the next couple of years.
And then step down.
And Hoyer needs to go.
He needs to go too. I like the
James
idea.
Clyburn.
Yes, that Nancy Pelosi is, I hope, a guide on the side. She's a leader, yes, at this point. But and it sounds like, Matt, from the beginning, that she does know where her place is, that she's basically co-leading with everybody, or co-governing with the other people, not just bossing them around.
Yeah, and she has been savvy enough to recognize the writing on the wall, and so of course
she's a survivor. She's a politician,
and with the new, much more diverse Democratic majority, there are younger, much more progressive people.
Yes, and smart.
And they're saying that look, we've had enough of this corporatocracy.
Thank you.
We need to change the game back to what the Democratic Party used to be, representative of a wide umbrella of peoples, and that's what
that's great.
That's how those people got elected. They got elected on affordable education, affordable health care, rebuilding the infrastructure, bringing back rational
Ocasio-Cortez. She
protect the environment.
Knocked out a guy who was a
liberal Democrat.
A liberal Democrat. First thing he did was to congratulate her. So she's the face, because she's the youngest, perhaps, and very outspoken, the face of the new Democratic Party.
Yeah. Well, and she's, it's great because
Democratic
the
Socialists.
right wingers keep trying to, throw mud on her, and it drops off. I mean, the latest was some QAnon moron dug up an old video of her dancing on a rooftop in New York City. It's like, look at her, what an idiot! And it's
what a twit!
And she was dancing to the soundtrack of, I forget the movie, but the gals that were
The Breakfast Club.
The Breakfast Club.
Yes, and they all were doing that. It was great.
The gals in the movie said, "Hey, this is great. We think that's great."
And look how cute she was.
Yeah, exactly.
So, in other words, by the way, his post is totally taken offline. So he was totally shamed into what he did. It just doesn't work. Yeah, everybody who comes after her, then she tweets back and claps back, and it's great.
Yeah, that's right. She didn't take crap off of anybody.
No, she doesn't.
That's the kind of Democratic leadership we want and need and love to see, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
So her latest thing was when she voted for Nancy Pelosi. There's a video showing GOP lawmakers booing her as she entered her vote. So she's already an enemy. And what she says on Twitter, she responded by saying, "Don't hate me because you ain't me, fellas." So again, she's not going to take this standing down. She's from New York, for goodness sake. She's extremely outspoken, spoken and smoken.
That's right.
Matt, what I love about these people is that they're very smart. They're very intelligent. And I think they're incredibly enervated.
Yes.
Energized?
Energized.
Thank you. Right.
Enervated means weak and tired.
Oh, no, that's not it. I'm enervated because I'm sleeping with both eyes open. But they're energized, and it's a very exciting time.
Well, there is exciting times, but it's going to be
with caution, right?
It's going to be a real uphill battle, Jim, because of course first you got that fascist moron in the White House
who's destroying everything that has an O in front of it for Obama,
and that the guy can't do anything for anybody unless it's a corporate interest or his own self ego.
I even would say it's not for anybody else; it's only for himself,
right? And somebody
else may benefit.
Yeah, I mean,
or his family.
There are few people who are as sick and twisted as Donald J. Trump. And in the meantime, so we've got to get past this government shutdown.
Yes.
The Democrats, I think, are going to be able to bring sufficient pressure. And there are some Republican senators who are saying, like,
for re-election.
Susan Collins from Maine,
right,
who are in states that were won by Hillary Clinton, who are up for election in 2 years, and they see that their ass is in jeopardy.
Yes.
And so they're telling McConnell, we need to do something here, fund the government, without the wall. Yeah. And of course, remember, when it was a quote unquote unified government, they still couldn't get the money for the $5 billion for the wall.
That's right. Right. So they couldn't do anything. They couldn't shoot straight.
But in the meantime now, so we've got that hurdle to get over. Yeah. Plus, you look at what's going on with the stock market and the economy. So
it's, oh my God.
The stock market lost over $7 trillion
That's too
in
much.
value
More than I have in my
year.
piggy bank.
Yeah. And I wish I had 1,000.
You got to play the lottery. You get 1.5 billion.
But here's the thing. So, last year was the year that was Trump liked to brag about how good the economy is.
Because the
best
stock market
economy
was
in the world. And
cruising,
look, it's up so
Obama.
high. It broke records before it broke records, and it's
good
dropping,
shape.
right?
It's falling like a stone.
Yeah. But the but that was the year that followed the big bazillionaire tax giveaway.
That's right.
And, all the right-wingers, this is going to do such miracles for the
Right.
economy. Well,
It'll
we'll be
trickle
making
down.
so much more tax income because everybody will have jobs and be spending, and, they'll all get raises. Well, that was just the typical right-wing lie.
Well,
of
again,
course.
it's back to Reagan's trickle-down economics,
Yeah.
which they've already proven doesn't work, and they're trying it again.
And so now we're starting to see, real threat of recession this year.
Right.
It could come at any time, really. And it could be a bad one because
not
in
leave the studio.
2008, the lessons were not learned.
No, of
so
course not.
whereas
Yeah, it's America.
under Obama and Elizabeth Warren, there was the financial
Consumer Protection Agency.
exactly
Right.
that was formed to rein in Wall Street, and
And it
a good
worked.
portion of
Yeah.
that has been dismantled by Trump.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
because it affects
and
him.
his swamp dwellers.
And apparently, Matt, another thing that's will start affecting Trump more directly is with the shutdown is the IRS is a lot of people are not being able to staff the information hotline. So these
Right.
accountants are calling up to get clarification on what
that
the
tax
status should be,
Yeah.
and they can't get answers.
Well, not only that, but the many of the hundreds of thousands of federal workers who have been furloughed are applying for unemployment, and the people in the unemployment office have been furloughed, and so they can't process
These
their
poor people.
claims.
Poor people.
So I mean,
Holy
so
cow.
you can see with things like that happening where it could really just cripple the whole government. It becomes a cascade of small dysfunctions that become a massive dysfunction.
I think that's called snowball effect.
a snowball effect,
Right.
exactly.
So, Matt, who was the Republican several years ago that said his idea? Oh, it was Grover Norquist.
Oh, yeah.
His idea of a government is one that's so small you can drown it in a bathtub.
Yeah, drag it into the bathroom and drown it in the
Yeah,
bathtub.
so basically this is what's happening,
Yeah.
isn't it? Their wishes coming true.
Well, and so this is the challenge for the new Democratic House. You've got a fascist, creepy pervert in the White House that will
have
never act in a mature adult way,
No,
and
no.
for anybody's interest other than his own.
No.
And you've got
I didn't even act that way when I didn't get the slot car for Christmas.
Well,
I wanted to.
I think the stock market's a little bigger issue here.
Well, I
Jim.
know, but it's just scaled up, right? He's still acting like a baby. He's
He
throwing
is.
a little tantrum.
Yeah.
He might as well be in his little knickers and screaming
Whining
on the
and
floor and
his feet.
kicking.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. But if after this, supposed boon of the tax law of 2017, the economy got a little artificial juice and boost,
A little jump.
and now that's dying off, where's that going to leave us this year in terms of where it can go? It looks like it can only go down, and it could go down precipitously.
So what do you suggest to our listeners, that if they have any money in the stock market, they take it out, turn it into gold, and stick it in their mattresses?
Well, it's probably best to, if you have money in the stock market, hold tight.
Hold tight to your.
That's what your broker always tells you.
to your.
Unless get the money out now if you want.
But you'll make a major loss. You'll have a lot of losses, but you won't lose any more.
Well, yeah,
right?
That's
good.
So
You can buy a dinner.
but
with
here's
what you've.
but
what
Jim,
you've lost.
here's what's even worse.
Okay.
That the Democrats are going to have to deal with. All right.
Lay it on me, Matt.
All right. March 2nd of this year is when the United States government hits its debt limit.
Okay.
You remember the debt limit? That's where there's
refresh my
over the
memory.
years. So the government can't spend more than it's authorized to spend.
Why
Congress
why?
has to authorize
Oh,
that.
it has to authorize
Now,
it.
the
It
gov-
could, but it has to be authorized.
The government continues to grow and spend more money.
Right.
Not always a great thing, but it's like not necessarily a bad thing.
Not necessarily.
But what we've seen in the past is that when that debt limit is coming up,
Yeah.
if it hits
People
that debt
freak out.
limit,
Yeah.
well, they don't just freak out. They don't get paid. The government, what that means is the government doesn't pay its bills, and things could have a ripple effect across this economy and the world's economies. So now the debt limit has to be signed off by Trump.
So, Matt, this is incredible. So I'm jumping to the final conclusion of what you're talking about here, is that one man, Trump, is basically going to be in charge or responsible for the recession, a worldwide recession.
I think
from
it's
his
entirely possible, if not
lack of
likely.
action.
Entirely possible.
Okay, so what's the advice for our listeners?
Well, so we have to continue to encourage the Democratic Congress to keep the pressure on, put the pressure on McConnell, put the pressure on all
listens.
senators.
McConnell's up for election in 2020, by the way.
That's right. But the pressure's got to get onto the Republican senators so that enough of them say, no, we're going to do this, we're going to sign it.
Yeah, they need to split off from McConnell.
It could potentially isolate Trump enough that he sees it's him against everybody else. He sees the world that way now as it is.
Yeah.
But he's got his little minions. But at that point, if you've got all the corporate masters and Republican senators and Fox News and people saying, look, this whole thing's going up in flames, something's got to be done, then he's either going to feel enough pressure if he's ever susceptible, or there's going to be enough pressure built up that somewhere in the government, whether it's the cabinet and voting
insurrection,
that he's crazy, or impeachment from
25th Amendment
from the Congress, one of those things is likely to happen. It's going to be bumpy. It's going to be ugly. We're in no man's land. There's no predicting how crazy it can get.
Well, Trump himself said, "Sit back and enjoy the ride."
Yeah, right. It's easy for him in his little gold palace.
Matt, there's a third way. The third way
What's
is
the third way?
The third way is if he refuses to sign a bill to override his veto.
If you have enough votes.
If you have enough
That's
votes.
why I say you have to pressure all the Republican
Absolutely.
senators.
That's right. That's correct. They all have to be on board. They have to realize somehow that we are in a crisis mode, and it is Trump's doing, and they can get us out of it.
That's right.
But whether they will or not, it doesn't seem like they are interested in it at all.
I mean, so it's like, how much abuse can we, the country, environmentally, economically, socially,
sounds like how much wood could a woodchuck chuck
withstand for the next 2 years?
I don't know. I mean, it's already reaching the breaking point after 2 years, and it's even worse now with the shutdown and now the economic collapse, it seems like, with the stock market and the raising of the Fed interest rate.
But 2020 will get here in a hurry. I mean, of course, we're going to be desperately,
please, Jesus,
coping with crises.
It's going to be hard doing the show wearing just our barrels. We're going to have no clothes left.
We're going to be like speaking into tin cans with strings.
Speaking in tongues. Yeah.
But I mean, if nothing else, it's like my hope is that we can withstand till 2020, because if he doesn't invoke national emergency powers,
which is what he's talking about doing with the wall, just now came in.
Yeah, but now that's crazy talk that everybody, even Fox News, I think, would recognize as crazy talk.
But the operative word you just said is "I think."
I'm not sure.
We're not sure, Matt. This is crazy town. It's crazy town right now. This is what John, what's his name, his advisor did before he left. He said, "This is crazy town."
But
the White House.
But look at the underlying fundamentals here, Jim. Who runs the country? I was talking about that book Giants that Professor Peter Phillips wrote.
Right.
So, there's 17 equity management firms in the world, and they control over $41 trillion.
Lordy big.
And there's 199 people on their boards. Those are the people that really call the shots. Now, they are very well insulated economically. Every other way.
So this is chaos all around them, and they're calm.
But they're not
elected.
They're not immune. And if
that's nice.
And the point of his whole book is that they spend their great energies and time continuing to seek out opportunities to invest their riches and get a return. Now, they're getting, because it's unsustainable, they're getting down into private security and owning taking over public assets like water systems and things like that. But those people are not completely immune, and he's doing enough damage. And if this
is Trump, he is.
Trump is, and if we get a severe recession or even a depression, those people are going to see it and they're going to notice, and they're going to call out Eric Prince and have the guy murdered. They're going to get Blackwater on the job.
Man,
right?
I tell you, if
who
happens,
knows how crazy that is?
That is pretty crazy.
Do we want a military solution? Hell no, we don't want that, because then that leaves the
it's
military.
A military coup.
Then the control is in the hands of the military.
That's right.
Now, can have militaries actually, military agencies actually taken control of governments in other countries in the past and relinquished it? Yes.
Yeah.
But
yes.
Mostly not. And mostly it's been very, it's been a road of mayhem and violence and slaughter to get there. And we don't want to go there if we can help
it. The only place I know that did that successfully is Costa Rica. They had a military coup, and the dictator said, I am only going to rule for a finite set of time, which he did. He stepped down, and the military is disbanded. They have no standing army.
Well, Brazil came out of a military coup, as did Chile.
Wow, we're not even talking about Brazil for that election.
Yeah, that's a whole other thing.
That's a whole other thing. Let's not go there. We don't have time, do we?
But there have been examples, but they've not been happy roads to travel down.
Well, none of this that we're talking about is too happy a road to travel down.
None of it is.
But it's reality.
Well, and that's what I'm saying.
Two Mooks in a reality, Mike.
What I'm saying is that, you look at the underlying true structure of control and management of the world.
Yeah.
You've got the multi-gazillionaires.
17 people.
Well, there's 17 firms.
Groups, right.
199 people in their boards.
All right, there
and about 400 people interlocking, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, okay.
So you've got that. You've got the whole petro economy.
That's right. Like Saudi Arabia,
well, and
Middle East,
think
and
about
Venezuela.
this. Not just that. I mean, the U.S. too. I mean, so, PG&E says that they can eliminate their 2 nuclear power plants without increasing the use of fossil fuel through the deployment of clean energy.
Wouldn't that be something?
That's great.
Yeah.
However, the whole political structure is based on protecting our international empire with, hundreds of bases around the world and protecting our, pumping of oil. And, those people are like true addicts. They're at the top of the pinnacle of the pyramid of power and wealth and riches, and they're not going to give that up. And they're not.
No, of course they wouldn't.
They're not going to make a smooth transition. It's going to be a real struggle here, But you take things like the only way the world is being fed as well as it is today.
You mean like literal food?
Literally fed.
Yeah.
Is through the use of cheap petroleum. It's what translates into fertilizers, pesticides, herbicides.
Transportation.
All that stuff. Yeah. And that stuff is, now that's accumulating toxics and is not sustainable either. So one way or another, there's a reckoning coming. And whether it's, we run out of cheap petroleum or, there's revolution of the people or the climate, starts delivering catastrophe after catastrophe.
I think it's already there.
It's getting there in a hurry.
Yeah.
And the insurance companies get bankrupted.
Sure,
and
they can't afford
governments are, paralyzed or frozen or shut down.
Yeah, and governments can't pay this back either.
You look at that, it could be very, very bleak, and it's we've got a very good chance of it being that way. Is there no hope? There is still hope.
Good. Let's hear it.
Well, that's
holy
what I'm
cow,
saying.
I was going to say Happy New Year, everybody.
If we can sustain some resiliency until the 2020 election,
don't sell your stocks.
Or if we continue to stay aware of what's going on,
keep your eyes open.
We have to be, people need to know that this is the context that we're living in.
Right.
It's easy to forget because we live in our beautiful bubble here.
In Petaluma.
Right?
That's right.
And the West Coast and the Bay
West
Area.
Coast, right. That's in Sonoma County.
And, I'd say all along the West Coast, we're
pretty
extremely
good.
fortunate.
Yeah.
But people need to be not forgetting that this is the underlying context of the situation.
Okay.
And that we have to, use what tools we have in our democracy still.
So, in other words, phone calls. Emails, talking to people, listening to 2 Mooks and a mic, be active, marching,
give money to nonprofit organizations,
causes that you believe in,
and honest politicians, elected representatives.
That's right. All of those people.
Those things.
Those help,
and be ready to get out on the street, I guess, if we have to, Jim, because we should have done that in 2000 when the Supreme Court stole the election. And gave it to G.W. Bush.
That's right. We should have, And I think there were some people who did protest. Well, we all were in San Francisco during the Iraq invasion.
And to protest the war that Bush was running us into.
And that was a wonderful thing. Did it do any good? Heck no. Well, except it did. It did put us on record as protesting, and that is good.
Yes.
That we just are not rolling over and going, oh, well, what's on TV tonight?
That's right, Give
me another Twinkie.
So that's, citizenship in action.
Right,
so we're going to have to be prepared to be active citizens continuing what we're doing.
Right, and that's not just for listeners within our area here. It's for people who are streaming us wherever they may be, like the Netherlands, for instance, that they can be active as well.
Yeah.
Or Japan.
I mean, we are fortunate here on the West Coast, so it's time to say farewell to Jerry Brown as our governor. And he's done some things that annoyed me, like allowed more drilling of oil in California. But on the other hand, he has been really good. On
been very fiscally conservative.
Financial manager.
He started with like $48 billion in the hole, and he's leaving with how many billions in the red? I mean, in the black, which is
like
good.
$15 billion in the rainy day fund.
Yeah, that's good, and he's advocating not to spend it all at once.
Yeah.
Which of course the Democrats and the supermajority in California are like, let's buy this and spend it on that.
They're not all like that,
No, but and hopefully there won't be. I mean, but they're tempted to.
And there are many worthwhile programs.
Absolutely.
Child care,
which is what Gavin Newsom's going
domestic
for.
violence, programs, all kinds of things.
But he's also going to take a fiscal.
I think he'll be.
Tight
I think he'll
fiscal
be
thing, too.
pretty rational.
I hope
and
so.
Jerry Brown is going to go off and continue working on global climate change.
Good on him. Yes, and he was a big spokesman for that, basically representing the state of California, but in a sense representing the United States.
Well, yes, because
was
he
it Davos? So I think that was.
And he
wasn't it?
made pacts with Oregon and Washington.
So it was all
and then
West
also
Coast.
with China to restrict, polluting activities and
That's
stuff. So
fantastic.
Yeah. So I mean, thank you, Jerry Brown, for doing a pretty decent job.
If you're listening, Jerry, thanks.
I can tell you this: when you're in elected office, it is very, very easy to screw up, and it is very, very hard to thread a needle where you actually do, come out having done, substantial good with, the powers and authorities that you're granted.
You're always being
and
observed.
It's really easy to screw that up. If you think about you're right. Arnold Schwarzenegger was good on the climate. He was terrible on a lot of other stuff.
Almost everything
You
else.
think about Duke Majan and Wilson and
Duke
Gray.
Majan took the shower with the two reporters. Remember that?
I don't remember
That basically ruined his whole. That was the end of him. He allowed a photographer to take him in the shower with two other reporters.
Oh God!
Yeah, it was like, okay, that was probably a mistake. No, man, I'm making a joke, but you're right. You're under so much scrutiny. You have to make sure that you do the greater good for the.
You do
overall,
and
right?
then you get little tastes of something good like. The North Carolina congressional race that the Republican won by like 900 votes, except really he had some toady that had collected absentee ballots that never got turned in.
Kept him on his kitchen table.
And the state elections board said, hey, we're not going to certify this election.
Like that.
And now the Democrats, having the majority of the House, are saying, we're not going to seat him, and we've got the constitutional authority to do that.
Exactly. They have the power not to seat anyone they choose not to. And if this is an election by fraud,
then we're not going to honor it. Yeah,
good. That's good.
So you get stuff like that. So those things are, you have to pin your hopes on what little glimmers you can find. But
So
really,
stay tuned.
The price of freedom is constant vigilance. Right?
Oh man! So I can't sleep now at all. But you have to have both eyes open to keep yourself constantly in vigil state.
And I don't mean to, pop everybody's bubble with the blue wave, but it's not going to be pretty. It's going to be rough.
It's going to be rough, guys.
But this is the time to really put your shoulder to
right.
the wheel, because now we do have the House back.
Thank you.
And if we
that's
can
just
live through these
it's
next,
a toe hold.
if we can get these through these next 2 years, and we get the Senate and the White House back,
would be pretty cool.
then we might be able to actually see this democracy fulfill its real
tell you,
promise.
man, that's a nice way to end on a very positive note. How are we doing on time?
We've got a couple more minutes. Well, folks, this is it. Enough of that doom and gloom. This has been
doom and gloom. No more. Next time it'll be all cheery.
Oh yeah,
butterflies and unicorns.
We're gonna read jokes. The joke here is two mooks and a mic.
Yeah, we're not joking. We're very serious, and thank you so much for listening.
We do appreciate it. We'll be back next Friday at
God
noon.
willing.
And
Inshallah.
Inshallah, what's that?
That means God willing in Arabic.
I didn't know that. I thought it was Allah be great or something.
Well, that's.
But then
means God be great.
I'm anti-religious for the most part, so screw that. Thanks for listening.
You're wearing your nun's habit.
All you mooksters, we
all right,
appreciate
guys, we'll
it.
see. And gals, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Spread the word.
Yeah.
Look for us on YouTube.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
you can search for number two, or TWO, Mooks and a mic.
That's right.
You should be able to find us.
Shows there. If this hasn't depressed you enough,
we have some visuals.
You can have more.
Yeah. All right.
All right, folks. Take care.
Bye, everybody.